Close your eyes, or rather, keep them open and look at the world around you. Everything seems solid, reliable, unique. You are sitting in a specific chair, in a specific room, at a specific coordinate in the vast, swirling ink of the Milky Way. This version of you, the one listening to these words, feels like the only version that has ever existed. But what if the very concept of the universe is a relic of our primitive ancestors? What if the word uni, meaning one, is the greatest scientific misconception in human history? In the next 90 minutes, we are going to dismantle your sense of self. We are going to explore a reality so vast that infinity is not a math term, but a physical prison. We are going to dive into the multiverse, not the colorful, convenient version seen in comic book movies, but the terrifying, scientifically grounded reality where every choice you didn't make, every tragedy you avoided, and every version of Earth that never was, is currently happening. As the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche once whispered into the void of eternal recurrence, this life as you now live it, and have lived it, you will have to live once more and innumerable times more. He was a philosopher, but today, modern cosmology suggests he might have been a physicist born too early. This is not just a journey of science, it is a journey of romance. Because if the multiverse is real, it means that goodbyes are a local illusion. Somewhere, in a fold of space-time too distant to touch, the person you lost is still there. The dream you gave up is being lived. In the infinite deck of cosmic cards, every hand is dealt. Every possibility is a reality. Let us begin at the beginning, not with the Big Bang, but with the simple realization that space is much, much bigger than we were ever told. The most grounded and mathematically unavoidable version of the multiverse doesn't require alternate dimensions or quantum portals. It only requires one thing: that space is infinite. The cosmological horizon, our universe, is actually just a volume. We call it the observable universe, a sphere roughly 93 billion light years in diameter. We are at the center of this sphere, not because we are special, but because that is how far light has traveled since the Big Bang. This is our cosmic horizon. But what lies beyond the horizon? If you stand on the shore of the ocean, the horizon looks like the end of the world. But we know it's just the limit of our perspective. Modern cosmology, backed by data from the Planck satellite, suggests that our space is flat. In a flat universe, space doesn't curve back on itself like a ball. It goes on forever. The mathematics of recurrence. Now, let's apply a brutal logic to this infinity. Imagine a deck of cards. There are 52 cards. There are a vast number of ways to shuffle them, but that number is finite. If you shuffle the deck an infinite number of times, eventually, mathematically certainly, you will get the exact same order twice. The universe is a deck of particles. In any given volume of space, say, the size of your room, there are only so many ways you can arrange the atoms of oxygen, nitrogen, and the matter that makes up your body. Quantum mechanics tells us that there is a limit to how much information can exist in a specific volume. This is the Bekenstein bound. If space is truly infinite, and the ways to arrange matter are finite, then recurrence is inevitable. The Doomsday Mirror. According to the calculations of physicist Max Tegmark, if you travel far enough in a straight line, roughly $10 carat 10 carat 150 meters, you will find an identical copy of yourself. This is the level 1 multiverse. It is not another dimension. It is just very far away. In this infinite expanse, there is an Earth where the asteroid never hit the Yucatan Peninsula 66 million years ago, and dinosaurs evolved into sentient beings who are, at this very moment, watching their own version of YouTube. There is an Earth where you chose the other career, married the other person, or died in childhood. This is the hard science of infinity. If the universe is infinite, everything that can happen must happen, and it must happen an infinite number of times. When Cooper in Interstellar looks across the vastness of the Tesseract, he is seeing the physical manifestation of these temporal and spatial folds. But in a level 1 multiverse, you don't need a Tesseract. You just need a faster ship and an eternity of time. If level 1 was about what happens within our space, level 2 is about the creation of space itself. This is where we meet the Big Bang's bigger, more violent brother, eternal inflation. The inflationary engine. In the first $10 carat minus $35 seconds after the Big Bang, the universe underwent a period of exponential expansion. Space didn't just grow, it exploded. This was inflation. But according to the theory of eternal inflation, proposed by Alan Guth and Andre Linde, inflation never truly stops everywhere. It is a permanent state of the vacuum. Imagine a vast, ever-expanding cosmic ocean of high-energy vacuum. In this ocean, tiny bubbles are constantly forming. Each bubble is a Big Bang. Each bubble is a universe. We live inside one of these bubbles. The diversity of laws. The terrifying and beautiful thing about level 2 is that each bubble can have different physical constants. In our bubble, gravity has a specific strength, $G$. The electromagnetic force allows atoms to bond. The Higgs field gives particles mass. We call this the fine-tuning problem. If gravity were even a fraction stronger, the universe would have collapsed back into a singularity seconds after birth. If it were weaker, stars would never have formed. In the level 2 multiverse, there are billions of bubbles where the laws of physics are broken or dead. Universes where light doesn't exist. Universes with 4 dimensions of space instead of 3, where stable orbits are impossible and planets fly off into the dark. The great filter of existence. This is the anthropic principle. We find ourselves in a universe that supports life because we couldn't exist anywhere else. It's like a fish marveling at how perfectly the water fits its body. But level 2 introduces a romantic tragedy, the cosmic solitude. Because the space between these bubbles is expanding faster than the speed of light, no two bubbles can ever communicate. Even if an alternate version of humanity exists in the bubble next to ours, we will never see them. We are islands in an infinite, uncrossable sea. This echoes the melancholy of the film Arrival. We are trying to translate the language of the universe, but we are limited by our own biological and spatial horizon. The multiverse is a library of infinite books, but we are locked in the English literature section, unable to even see the shelves of the physics or poetry sections next to us. To understand how these universes stay separate, we must look at the very fabric they are printed on. This brings us to string theory and its evolved form, M-theory. For decades, physicists thought the fundamental building blocks of the universe were point-like particles. String theory suggests they are actually tiny, vibrating loops of string. Just as a guitar string can produce different notes depending on its tension and vibration, these strings produce different particles, an electron, a quark, a photon, depending on how they vibrate. But for the math to work, these strings cannot vibrate in our 3 dimensions of space. They require 10 or 11 dimensions. M-theory suggests that our entire 3-dimensional universe is a brane, short for membrane, floating in a higher dimensional space called the bulk. Think of a loaf of bread. Our universe is just one slice. The multiverse is the entire loaf. There could be other slices, other universes, just millimeters away from us in the 11th dimension, yet we can never see or touch them because we are trapped on our slice. However, there is one force that might leak between slices, gravity. This is the hard science behind the tesseract in Interstellar. Christopher Nolan and physicist Kip Thorne used the idea that gravity is a higher dimensional force. When Cooper taps on the walls of time, he is using gravitational waves to bridge the gap between branes. We must go deeper. The holographic principle suggests that all the information in our 3D volume is actually encoded on a 2D surface at the edge of the universe. Imagine a credit card with a 3D hologram. The image looks deep and real, but it is actually just a 2D sticker. If this is true, the multiverse might not be a collection of places, but a collection of data sets. Every alternate reality is just a different line of code on the cosmic horizon. This brings a chilling, matrix-like quality to our existence. We are the projection. The multiverse is the projector. Why is the universe so perfectly tuned for life? This is the Goldilocks enigma. If the strong nuclear force were 2% stronger, stars would burn out in seconds. If it were 2% weaker, no atoms heavier than hydrogen could ever form. Leonard Susskind, one of the fathers of string theory, describes the landscape of the multiverse. There are $10 carat, $500 possible vacuum states, $10 carat, $500 different sets of physical laws. Most of these universes are dead. They are chaotic voids of radiation or cold, empty vacuum. We live in this universe not because it was designed for us, but because it is one of the few lucky pockets where the math allows for complexity. This is the ultimate Darwinism. In a sea of infinite failed universes, we are the survivors of a cosmic lottery. There is a profound loneliness in level 2 and level 4. If we are just a statistical fluke in a landscape of $10 carat, $500 failures, does our life have meaning? The answer lies in the observer. In a universe without life, there is no one to witness the stars. A dead universe has no story. By existing, we give the multiverse a witness. We are the way the multiverse looks at itself in the mirror. Even if we are a fluke, we are the fluke that matters, because we are the ones asking the question. If there are infinite versions of us, can we ever meet them? Science offers a few theoretical portals, though the price of entry is high. A wormhole is a shortcut through the bulk, a tunnel connecting two different points in space-time, or even two different branes. To keep a wormhole open, we would need exotic matter with negative energy density. While mathematically possible, we have never found it. If we could build one, we could step through a door in London and walk out onto an Earth where the Roman Empire never fell. Perhaps we cannot move our bodies, but what about our information? Quantum entanglement allows two particles to stay linked across any distance. Some physicists speculate that entanglement could exist between particles in different universes. Could a hunch or a déjà vu be a leak of information from an alternate version of you? While mainstream science says no, the Everettian interpretation leaves the door slightly ajar. If our brains are quantum computers, could they be sensitive to the fluctuations of the nearby branches? As we sit here, contemplating the infinite, a chilling mathematical ghost haunts the halls of physics. It is the Boltzmann brain paradox. Named after the 19th century physicist Ludwig Boltzmann, this concept challenges the very reality of the world you see. In a multiverse that lasts for an eternity, entropy dictates that high-energy states, like our universe, are rare. However, in an infinite span of time, random fluctuations in the vacuum will occur. Given enough time, atoms will spontaneously arrange themselves into a structure. What is more likely? That an entire, coherent universe with a 14 billion year history formed out of a Big Bang? Or that a single, functioning human brain, complete with fake memories of a life, a family, and a world, spontaneously fluctuated into existence in the dark void, only to vanish a second later? If you are a Boltzmann brain, then the multiverse isn't a collection of planets. It is a graveyard of lonely thoughts. Everything you remember about the previous 80 minutes of this video could be a false electrical signal generated by a random surge of quantum foam. In the film Inception, the characters struggle to distinguish between layers of dreams. Level 4 of the multiverse suggests that the dream might be the only thing that exists. This is the hardcore existentialism of the multiverse. It is more statistically probable that you are a momentary hallucination in the dark than a biological being on a stable planet. Imagine, for a moment, that you are standing on the shore of a vast, dark ocean at night. You see the waves crashing at your feet, and you feel the salt spray on your skin. To you, this ocean is everything. It is the boundary of your world. But beyond the horizon, unseen and untouched, lie other shores, other oceans, and other lands that your eyes will never behold. For thousands of years, humanity believed we lived in a universe, a word derived from the Latin universus, meaning turned into one. We believed in a single, cohesive reality, governed by a single set of laws, beginning with a single Big Bang. But as our telescopes have peered further into the cosmic microwave background, and our equations have delved deeper into the quantum foam, that one has begun to fracture. We are not living in a universe. We are living in a multiverse. This is not a fantasy of cinema. It is a cold, mathematical necessity arising from the very laws that govern the atom and the galaxy. Tonight, We will journey beyond the boundaries of our observable horizon. We will explore the 4 levels of the multiverse, the terrifying implications of the many worlds interpretation, and the 11-dimensional landscape where entire universes are born and destroyed in the blink of a cosmic eye. The first level of the multiverse is perhaps the most haunting because it requires no new physics. It requires only that our current understanding of space is correct, that the universe is infinite. When we look into the night sky, we see the observable universe, a sphere roughly 93 billion light-years across. This is the limit of how far light has traveled since the Big Bang. But there is no reason to believe that space ends at that horizon. According to the theory of cosmic inflation, space is flat and infinite. In an infinite space, a terrifying mathematical law takes over: the law of infinite permutation. Matter is composed of a finite number of particles, protons, neutrons, and electrons. In a finite volume of space, there are only so many ways you can arrange those particles. If you have an infinite amount of space, those arrangements must eventually repeat. This means that if you travel far enough, roughly 101,0115 meters, you will find another volume of space identical to this one. You will find another Earth. You will find another room exactly like the one you are in now. And you will find another version of you, lying in bed, listening to these exact words. This is the level 1 multiverse. It is not a parallel dimension. It is simply more space. It is the realization that in an infinite cosmos, every possibility, no matter how small, is not just likely, but guaranteed to happen an infinite number of times. Somewhere, you made a different choice this morning. Somewhere, the Roman Empire never fell. Somewhere, the Earth is a barren rock. All of them are out there, separated only by the vast, unbridgeable distances of an eternal void. As we move to the level 2 multiverse, the scale of the mystery deepens. This level arises from the mechanism of the Big Bang itself: eternal inflation. Think of the fabric of space as a cosmic ocean of energy. In most places, this energy is expanding at an exponential rate, doubling in size every fraction of a microsecond. This is inflation. However, in certain pockets of this ocean, inflation stops. These pockets are like bubbles forming in a pot of boiling water. Each bubble is a universe. Our Big Bang was simply the moment inflation stopped in our local bubble. But beyond our bubble, the cosmic ocean is still inflating, constantly birthing new universes. This creates an eternal, frothing sea of cosmic creation. The most profound aspect of the level 2 multiverse is that each bubble can have different laws of physics. In one bubble, gravity might be so strong that the universe collapses into a point within seconds of its birth. In another, the electromagnetic force might be so weak that atoms never form, leaving a universe of cold, dark hydrogen. We live in a Goldilocks bubble, a universe where the fundamental constants, like the mass of the electron and the strength of dark energy, are perfectly tuned for life. This leads us to the anthropic principle. We don't live in this universe because it was made for us. We live in it because it is one of the few bubbles where we could exist. To find the level 3 and 4 multiverses, we must leave 3-dimensional space behind and enter the world of string theory and M theory. Physicists suggest that our 3D world is actually a brane, short for membrane, floating in a higher dimensional space called the bulk. Imagine a loaf of bread. Each individual slice is a universe, a 2D plane. The bread itself is the 11-dimensional bulk. In this framework, our universe is just one slice. Other slices, other branes, may be floating mere millimeters away from us in the 11th dimension. We cannot see them, and we cannot touch them, because our light and our matter are stuck to our own slice. The only force that can leak between these branes is gravity. This might explain why gravity is so much weaker than the other fundamental forces. It is not weak. It is simply being spread across multiple universes. Sometimes, 2 of these branes might drift toward each other and collide. This big splat would release a staggering amount of energy, potentially triggering a new Big Bang. In this view, our universe was not born from nothing. It was born from a cosmic collision in a higher dimensional void. We now enter the most controversial and mind-bending level of all, the Level 3 Multiverse, or the many-worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. At the subatomic level, particles do not exist in single states. They exist in a superposition of all possible states at once. This is the heart of the Schrödinger's cat paradox. The cat is both dead and alive until you open the box. In the standard view, when you observe the cat, the wave function collapses into a single reality. But the many-worlds interpretation, proposed by Hugh Everett, suggests that the wave function never collapses. Instead, it branches. Every time a quantum event occurs, which is trillions of times per second, the universe splits into multiple versions of itself. If you decide to turn left, the universe branches into one where you turned left and another where you turned right. This means the multiverse is not just out there in distant space or higher dimensions. It is here. Every moment of your life is a branching point in an infinite, ever-growing tree of realities. There is a version of history where every possible outcome has been realized. The Level 3 Multiverse is the total sum of all mathematical possibilities, played out in an infinite number of parallel timelines, all occupying the same space, but invisible to one another due to quantum decoherence. Every story must have an ending, but in the multiverse, endings are as diverse as beginnings. While our specific universe may face a big freeze, other branches face far more violent or strange conclusions. In some universes within the Level 2 landscape, dark energy is phantom. It doesn't just push galaxies apart, it grows stronger over time. Eventually, it overcomes the gravity of galaxies, then stars, then the electromagnetic bonds of your own atoms. Imagine a world where you're watching the sky, and suddenly, the stars disappear because their light can no longer reach you. Then, your own body begins to disintegrate into subatomic dust as space itself expands faster than the forces holding your nuclei together. This is the Big Rip. In other universes, the cosmological constant is negative. Gravity eventually wins. The expansion stops and reverses. Every galaxy, every star, and every alternate version of you begins to rush toward a central point. The sky grows hotter and brighter as the cosmic microwave background shifts into the visible spectrum. The night sky becomes a blinding furnace. In the final seconds, all of history, every war, every symphony, every multiversal branch, is crushed back into a single point of infinite density. Why does the multiverse resonate so deeply with us? Because it is the modern scientific version of the ancient road not taken. We are obsessed with alternate histories. In Philip K. Dick's The Man in the High Castle, characters find a film that shows a world where the Allies won World War II. Our world. They treat it as a dream, but in the multiverse, it is a neighboring brane. Humanity has always sensed that reality is thin. From the dream time of the Aboriginal Australians to the Maya illusion of Hindu philosophy, we have always suspected that what we see is only a fraction of what is. The multiverse is Jorge Luis Borges' Library of Babel, a library containing every possible book. Most are gibberish, but somewhere in the stacks is the true story of your life, a version where you are a king and a version where you never existed. The romance of the multiverse is that it validates our imagination. Every story we have ever told, every what if we have ever whispered, is a factual report from another coordinate in the infinite landscape. We have reached the end of our 30,000-word odyssey. The technical structures of Level 1 through 4, the vibrations of M-theory, and the terror of Boltzmann branes have all led us here, to this moment, in this room, with this breath. In a multiverse where everything happens, nothing feels special. If there are infinite yous, then you are a commodity. But there is a counter-argument, the local value. Just because there are infinite diamonds in the universe doesn't make the diamond on your finger less beautiful. Value is not determined by uniqueness in the infinite. It is determined by presence in the local. This version of you, right now, is the one making the effort to understand the cosmos. That choice, made in the face of infinite alternatives, is the definition of character. As the low-frequency hum of the cosmic background radiation fills your ears, let the scale of the multiverse wash over you. You are a leaf on a tree with infinite branches. You are a drop in an ocean with no shores. The pressure to be perfect or to have it all dissolves in the face of infinity. You don't have to live every life. The multiverse is doing that for you. Your only job is to inhabit this specific slice of the brain, to feel the gravity of this specific earth, to love the specific, finite people in your life. The stars are fading now. The atoms of the multiverse are settling into their quantum states. Whether you wake up tomorrow in this universe or a slightly different one, the fundamental truth remains. You are a part of the grandest mathematical structure ever conceived. You are the music that the strings of the universe are playing. Rest now. Journey through the bubbles of eternal inflation. Cross the Einstein-Rosen bridges in your dreams. The multiverse is vast, but you are home. Good night.